Hi, I'm Chase Smith, and my presentation is on Unit 4, Priesthood Keys. So we're going to go over both priesthood keys, but specifically I'm focusing on the keys of the Melchizedek priesthood. So first, a basic overview is that this is the higher of the two priesthoods. This gives you the authority to act and preside over different parts of the church, and we'll go into a lot more detail about that as we keep on discussing. And I also want to go over a little bit at the very beginning of what are the differences between the Aaronic and the Melchizedek priesthood, the two priesthoods. So first, we'll come with my academic source, which is my first one is The Oath and Covenant of the Priesthood by S. Brent Farley. And this says that President Joseph Fielding Smith explained that the Aaronic priesthood is the preparatory priesthood to qualify us to make the covenants and receive the oath that attends this higher priesthood. And this is basically just explaining what the Aaronic priesthood is, and it's the preparing priesthood. It's what prepares you to have the Melchizedek priesthood, and it's super important. So this is just kind of an overview of what the Aaronic priesthood is and why it's so important to prepare us for the Melchizedek. My next academic source is from A Culmination of Learning, DNC 84, and the Doctrine of the Priesthood by Matthew C. Godfrey. And this quote says, "One of the most significant doctrinal revelations is that Joseph Smith received was Doctrine and Covenants section 84. And this quote continues on and talks about just the importance of Doctrine and Covenants 84. But basically what he goes on to talk about is how this section gives many explanations about the different keys of the priesthood and specifically the Melchizedek priesthood that we didn't know before. And it just highlights the importance of it and why it's completely necessary for our church. And without it, the church just wouldn't be the same as it would today. And so this is one of the main reasons why we have the Melchizedek priesthood. And so this quote just really highlights the importance of it. So next, I just want to talk about a little bit about the Melchizedek priesthood. So as I said before, it's the higher of the two priesthoods. The Aaronic is the first one, the lower priesthood. The higher one is the Melchizedek. And the main thing that the Melchizedek priesthood does that we can see day to day, at least the keys do, is they give us the authority to act and to preside over the different parts of the church. So my first big source is that the Melchizedek priesthood, and is from the talk called The Melchizedek Priesthood and the Keys by President Dallin H. Oaks. And this quote says, "All other authorities or offices in the priesthood are appendages to the Melchizedek priesthood, for it holds the right of presidency and has the power and authority over all offices in the church in all ages of the world." And this is a really, really cool quote to me. It's just talking about how the Melchizedek priesthood holds like all the power we'll need to preside over the church and to run the church through all ages of the world. It doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter if it was Jesus' time or today. The Melchizedek priesthood is what you need to have authority over the church. And this is what our prophet has, and the keys of it are what runs the church and holds it together. My next source is from a talk called Keys of the Priesthood by Russell M. Nelson. And it says, "Your stake president, quorum president, and bishop hold keys of presidency. Their keys control the power of their unit of the church. Those leaders not only may call and release, but they must train and bear sacred responsibilities that the mission of the church to be accomplished." And this is just kind of talking more about what we said, but it's explaining specific people that have it. So our stake presidents, our quorum presidents, and our bishop hold keys of presidency. Our prophet holds different keys. These are keys that help us know how to guide the church and that hold the church together. They're keys that allow us to decide who may be in our quorums, and they're keys that allow us to decide what powers we may use when. And so the keys are really, like I like to use the expression, the key is like your car key. Without the car key, you're not getting anywhere with the power of the priesthood or the power of the car. And then my first Doctrine and Covenants section is section 84. And I won't read the whole thing, but I'll read the first verse. And it says, "And this greater priesthood administereth the gospel, and holdeth the key of the mysteries of kingdom, even the key of the knowledge of God." And this is really why I love this section. This has always been an important section to me as a priesthood holder to refer to for learning some of the keys that are important to me. And so some of these are the mysteries of the kingdom of God, or the knowledge of God, the powers of godliness to manifest unto the flesh, all these different things that are important keys that are only explained for the first time, a lot of them, in section 84. And this is why it's such an important section. This is what Joseph Smith got, and it's a really important section for our gospel. My next section is 107, and verse 9 says, the presidency of the high priesthood, after the order of the Melchizedek, have the right to officiate in all offices in the church. And this is basically another responsibility that the keys give you, and it lets you basically decide who is in what position of the church. It helps decide offices through the power of God, and helps give God's guidance in deciding the powers of the church and who may sit in them. So this is how many of the quorums of our church are decided, is through these keys, and the president and the key holders is helping decide who may be in the different spots of the church. So my quote from the Joseph Smith papers is from Instructions on Priesthood, which is from the 5th of October, 1840. And it said, Elijah was the last prophet that held the keys of this priesthood, and who will, before the last dispensation, restore the authority and deliver the keys of this priesthood, in order that all ordinances may be attended to in righteousness. And what this is basically saying is the importance of the Melchizedek priesthood again, but specifically Elijah the prophet. Without Elijah, we wouldn't have the priesthood keys we have today. But it's just saying how through all of the church, the keys of the priesthood are really needed in order for the church to function. Now, I have two concepts that I want us to kind of remember. So the two are, what are the different priesthood keys? Some of them are the right to presidency, the power and authority over the offices of the church, the mysteries of the kingdom of God, and the knowledge of God. And the second is, how can we use these priesthood keys? And this is presiding over the church, giving blessings, and some temple ordinances. So how can we apply these today, though? And some of the ways we can apply this is really just by remembering what these roles are. For me as a priesthood holder, I can help these to help prepare me to actually hold these keys one day and help me lead the church in some ways. So the most important thing is just to remember what these keys are and how we can remember them and use them, because they're an important part of our church. Without them, our church wouldn't be able to function. Thank you.